Hi friends, this is Deepak Chawla once again on the platform of Tell Me Your Story. It's good to be back with you and to bring back stories which are inspiring, which have inspired the people around and which continue to inspire people. And it has been a pleasure to get such varied personalities on this platform that you yourself, as you're moderating the show, keep on learning so many things. So, as you know, I am a management professional, an educationist, a trainer, an author, and a poet. And today I have the pleasure of having with me Tarun Singh Anand, whom we fondly call as Tarun. Welcome, Tarun, to the show.
Thank you, Deepak.
So, friends, Tarun is someone who I look up on to for a variety of reasons. I have known him for not very long time, but it looks like it's a lifetime that I have known him, and we've become very good friends. And I must thank Tarun for being kind enough to come on this show. So, friends, Tarun is a graduate, MBA graduate from SPJ in Mumbai. He's an hardcore Mumbaiker, and he's done his executive education programs in various overseas universities. He's done it from Michigan, he's done it from TUC, and he's done it from IE University in Spain. He's having about 30 years of experience, out of which 20 years as a professional along the globe. And for the last almost close to a decade, he's been an entrepreneur. He was the managing director of Thomson Reuters for South Asia, and his earliest stint, he's worked with global banks like Standard Chartered, he's worked with HSBC, and he's had a pretty long stint with the Reuters Group, and he was one of the youngest business heads in that company. So, welcome, Tarun.
Thank you.
And as you know, that this platform is the one where we listen to people who have had inspiring moments in their lives, defining moments in their lives, which they, when they reflect back, find it to be, yes, these were the ones, these were the times, these were the moments which really shaped the person and which also have value, immense value to people who would be watching this show. So, Tarun, if we go back to your life and your career, as I have known at least, I remember that you had shared with me how you started off your life as a salesperson in the financial industry. And I, for one, know that for any professional, the early professional years are some of the most formative and most defining moments of life on which your career builds up. So I would like you to share one or two of those instances in your early career which really shaped you, which really defined your future career, and which would be of interest in learning to our viewers. Tarun, to you.
Great. Thanks, Deepak. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. One does reflect on these, moments in one's life. I'll go back to my first job, which was a door-to-door salesperson. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
knocking on doors, ringing bells, getting doors slammed on your face. I was working for HSBC, and at that point, it was a challenge. It was something new. It was exciting, but very soon your heart crumbles when every door you bell you ring, it gets slammed on your door. I used to stand up at the door and say, good morning, I'm from HSBC. Bam. Good
We do
morning, I'm
that
from
all the time.
HSBC. Yeah, bam. So and before even one would get to the door, many times outside the gates of the building, it was like doors and salesmen aren't allowed. So pele your kutte ka level, you've got that dog level. And many times the security wouldn't allow you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There was a
absolutely.
time, nowadays, though it's impossible, but luckily 25, 30 years ago, you could find a way to get around the security by guesstimating the name, saying Mr. Shah se milna, and then he'll look at you
Uh,
and then you get away. So
true,
you
true.
start from the top, you start ringing bell after bell, getting door slammed on your face after that. So it was very depressing, challenging, upsetting. I'm like, what do I do? If I go back to
Mm-hmm.
my reporting manager, he's going to tell me where's the sales. And I'm like, I couldn't even open beyond good morning, ma'am. And before the fact that I said I'm a salesperson, the story was over. So I would go up in the terrace, be depressed, and say, how do I do this? I'm going to get fired. So I thought of an idea and I said, I'm going to try it like any other idea in life. You just give it a shot. And I said, okay, ding dong. And believe you me, this is Mumbai city. It's a professional city. So both husband wife are going to work. So there's no point ringing at 10 a.m. because the Kamwali Bai will be there. You're not
You
going
won't
to
find
sell her.
anyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you have to start ringing at 6 in the morning, right? Now, how
Wow.
happy will you be if I rang your bell at 6 in the morning? Not too pleased, right? So you're in that groggy mode. The mother is in a groggy mode. She opens the door, and here I am. Good morning, ma'am. I'm from HSBC. And bam, was the door, is about to shut on my face. So what I did was I wish I could stand and do it, but I would leap in front, put my leg inside the door, and the lady of the house, so the mother would either she's in a hard, she's done it softly or angrily, it would hit my leg, and then I'd go thud 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 falling on the floor, and I'd say, ah, she's looking at me wondering. I'm like, I think I've hurt myself. I think I've really. So she's wondering what, someone, how did this happen? She's in that, mode. And I'm like, ma'am, I think I've really hurt myself. Can I just have a painkiller? So now the mothers in our lives are beautiful human beings. So that she's feeling guilty maybe because of her. So she goes in, gets a painkiller. I take the painkiller, a glass of water, about to have the painkiller. And I'm like, ma'am, I've forgotten I didn't have breakfast today. Now, I'm not asking for a double cheese omelette with French fries and toast. All I'm asking is for a cup of chai. Now, every mother knows ki khali pet pe to you shouldn't have chai.
Very true, very true.
So she would go in, she's committed to this kindness act. So she's got to follow through. As I said, dard diya to dawa dena hai. So she would go in, make a cup of tea, 5-7 minutes to drink the tea, 5-7 minutes to, make the tea and then drink it. 15 minutes, slam, sale done, right?
Wow.
I wasn't getting 2 seconds. Suddenly I had a bonus of 15 minutes to, make my pitch. So it was next Ghanti Fall Painkiller Chai Sale. Ghanti Fall Painkiller Chai Sale. One shot, sometimes 6 painkillers. Your listeners will say this guy is mad. But, at that age, you were like, anything takes. So it became like, wow. Now, why do I say this story? Because in life, there are going to be many doors that are going to slam on your face. It could be the door of your, job. It could be a door of a promotion. It could be a door of a school, anything, right? There are going to be doors. Or it could be a door of your boyfriend slamming the door on you. It could be any door. So the reality I learned from that experience was that the reason why you can take the beating is what I call the concept of resilience, right? You fall down, you get back. Either find a way through the door, or there is always another door. There's always another option in life. We tend to give up very soon. And that's the reality. People get depressed. And I think that's in this mode, which we are in currently, I think that it's a great thing that, I call it like playing a sport. If you lose a game of tennis or football, do you say, I'm never going to play that game again? No. Absolutely. You say, I'm going to figure out a way to get better at it.
Get better at it.
That's the game of life. Let one door shut. There's another door. Try hard to get through the next door. If not, there's always another door.
Wow. This sounds so melodramatic, and it reminds me of Rocket Singh. Hope you've seen that movie, Rocket Singh, Salesman of the Year.
Yeah. But I literally identified with him.
But where did this idea come to you from? This is really intriguing.
It was just desperation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got your back against the wall. You don't want to lose a job. You're like, how do I get some time with that person, right? How do I engineer that? No nice words are going to work. So maybe if I hurt myself, I might get through the door.
Well, so the message for our viewers or the young aspiring salespersons who are there out in the field is not just to go and hurt yourself, but the resilience is the part which you just said.
Absolutely.
Being knocked down and getting back again is what really makes a difference.
Correct.
Tarun, you've been for about 20 years, you were in a professional life, and then you became an entrepreneur and you set up this wonderful universal business school, which is India's first green bee school, as they call it. And there was this transformation from being a professional with proper salaries and bonuses coming in, and then suddenly going into the jungles of Karjat and setting up this bee school. It requires a lot of conviction, a lot of belief, a lot of drive. were there not any moments of, doubt, whether there were anything that things might go wrong? And it was a big risk that you were taking, leaving your job, which was paying, I probably hope, in the millions of dollars, and the kind of lifestyle that global bankers get. So, how do you deal? And if there were any moments of self-doubt, those dark moments that whether you will succeed or not succeed, and what were the difficulties, and how did you deal with your mind at that point of time, fundamentally?
So yeah, no, it was a leap of faith. It's like jumping off the cliff, and
Mm-hmm.
just knowing in that when I gave up my career, I was very clear that I can't have another option. I can't give myself another option, or a backup plan. So like poker, all chips in. We everything I'd earned in my corporate career, including all the flats, mortgage, sold everything, put uh, everything I'd owned into the venture. And I think we took on massive debt, and some of the debt was horrible at 24%. I don't know which
Oh
crazy
gosh.
businessman takes debt at 24%. And good news is we've already paid that off. So the point
Fantastic.
is, I think it came back from me as my journey as a sports person.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play a crazy game called rugby, and I've represented India in this game. There's Bombay Gymkhana is where one
Yes,
used to play
yes.
this game. So rugby is a tough game. You get beaten,
It's
you get
it's a
bruised, you
cruel
get
game. It's a
yeah,
cruel game.
yeah. You just, if you don't get a scratch and you come out, you're like, wow, this is a good day. So one such rugby match, we were playing against Maharashtra State Police. These guys are
Mm-hmm.
big guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one really horrible tackle, and I was laid up on the Bombay Gym field, and literally saw a movie while I was laid up. It's called Tare Zameen Par. Right? I didn't know where I was. Next moment, I'm in hospital. And then they said, my back was gone. They did the MRIs, and there were 3 slip discs. So that was the end of my sporting career. That was it. And it was a tough time. For 2 years, I went through all the treatments possible, from Ayurveda to they have this heat and pressure technology which they used with, I was told at that point, with Steffi Graf and Boris
Oh.
Becker. And so they put the
Okay.
spine and they try and pull it through. And then you go to the traditional at Bombay Hospital, they put the traction where they pull your spine in. That's the most painful, by the way. Then I had Dr. Ali Irani, the
Oh
Indian
yes.
physio.
Physio
He
for the
was
Indian cricket
for
team.
doing my
Yes.
physio. I did all those crazy oil massage. Nothing worked, right? Kept trying. So then they said, finally, there is only one thing which will work with your back, which is endoscopic laser technology surgery. And in those days, it wasn't foolproof. I'm talking of 95, 96. So I said, what is the odds on this surgery?
You would have been how old that time?
I was, must be 18, 19, maybe 20. No,
Oh.
19, 20, 21, sometime that. Uh, so what are the odds of success? They said 50-50. I said, okay, so it won't be a success. No, you might get paralyzed, right? That's the
Oh.
downsides. I said, I'm a risk taker, but this is just too far, a leap I want to take. So then I read this book, which was Mind Over Body, and
Okay.
healing back pain through the mind. And I can't tell you, I finished the book. I started practicing those techniques, and I went at my, self. Like the book tells you to start screaming, shouting, and abusing yourself, right? So
Okay.
I would just go at myself with all the vengeance and abuse the hell out of it, say, get out of me, get out of me, get out of me.
Wow.
And
Wow.
you scare the damn pain away. I mean, there's a science to it. You got to know where it is. You position yourself. So I keep
Okay.
telling people, if I can deal with the physical, bludgeons of pain. And actually, by the way, it's now been 20 years. After that, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I've gone back and played rugby.
Fantastic.
So I'm back in the high sports, and I'm training myself for Everest. So, but the discs are just there. So if I do an MRI right now and I do the MRI that time, the discs are the same, right? So the disc hasn't changed, but the pain
But
has
there's
gone.
no pain.
Right.
Pain is
So
gone.
I tell people, don't be a BMW, right? Don't be a person in your company who bitches, moans, and wails, right?
Wow.
Because
BMW.
if you're going to be a BMW, then you're never going to get a BMW. Never, right? So stop bitching, stop moaning, stop wailing, get into the life. There are going to be doubts, there are going to be difficulties you're going to face, but if I can deal with the physical ones, then you got to be able to deal with the mental ones. And stay away from people like that. Stay away from people like that, right? So just because surround yourself with the eagles, not with the guys who are going to pull you down. So that's my thing. And risk taking is now my biggest. I think my. If you say there's one thing I'm very proud of is my risk taking ability.
Fantastic. I mean, this has really shaken me the way you have, told about your story of driving the pain out by screaming and yelling at the pain. Would you mind sharing with the readers what this book was? Who was the author of this book?
The author, it's called Healing Back Pain. It's a doctor.
Okay.
I'm just forgetting his name. Healing Back Pain, Mind Over Body. If you Google it, it'll come. Dr. Sarno, E. Sarno.
Okay. Great. And this BMW concept is very fascinating. Bitching, moaning,
and wailing.
Wailing. Wow.
Right? There are people in the organization who will always say, my boss is not right, my company is not right,
very true.
The professor is not right. They continue to do that. If you find that those are the people who are the ones who are never going to go places. Right?
So I think the viewers who are here, none of them would like to own a BMW. They would either go for an Audi or they would go for a Mercedes in that league. One would go for a BMW after listening to this.
No, BMW is an excellent car. It's just the analogy makes sense.
One more thing, Tarun, like you had these two stints, first in the corporate world and then here. The way you have transformed Universal Business School in such a short time, and the way you rose so quickly in the ranks in writers, what is it that drives you, and what is it you would say that mantra that you could do things the way you have done quickly? I mean, the speed of it is something that I'm really intrigued about. That how could you get such speed?
Great. This goes back to, I remember an instant which kind of changed my career. It just, took me on that crazy ride. It was in London. My boss was a Britisher called Mark Robson. We had 4 Brits, 2 Americans, a German, a French, a Japanese, a Chinese, and a Brazilian. We were part of the global strategy group. So every quarter we would look at the business and say, what are the strategic bets, M&A we want to do. And one such meeting, I remember distinctly, there was an idea to acquire a German company in Frankfurt. So it was roughly around $25 million. So I remember my boss saying, yeah, that's a great idea, but we need to do due diligence, right? So which one of you will pick it up? Because we need to do that. So the German, my good friend Heiko Cassens from Dusseldorf puts his hand and says, I'd like to do it because I understand the German markets. I understand, European, the financial services. So let me do it. So my boss, Mark Robson, said, sure. Well, Heiko, how long will you take to do the due diligence? And he said, I'll take 2 months. Okay. Now, my good friend Michael McCorkle, Mikey from New York, he's an American. The Americans always like to get under the, skin of the Germans since World War II, right? So he's like, I'll do the due diligence. How long will you take? Mark asked him, and he said, I'll take 1 month. So the German got obviously upset. No, Mikey, we need to do this kind of research and detailed analysis. And the American, in true American style, no, we need speed. So they were having their debate. And then I put up my hand, and my boss said, yeah, Taryn. I was called Taryn, not Tarun. When I went to London, I was Taryn. When I moved to New York, it was Tarun. So they killed my name. So
Okay.
Taryn, what do you say?
Okay.
I said, Mark, I'll do the due diligence. How long will you take, Taryn? I said, 2 weeks. So the German
2
and the
months to
American,
2 weeks.
yeah. So the German and the American were looking at each other, and then they pounced onto me. They said, "You don't know anything about Europe. You've never done any M&A in your Asia, in Europe. You're going to mess up this deal. Don't, this guy's going to, this is too strategic a deal. We can't trust him." And I was like, okay, I just put up my hand, and my boss came and rescued me, and he said, no, Taryn, you do it. Okay, fine. So that very day, I knew I had 2 weeks to get this due diligence done. I took a flight to Frankfurt that very evening. Guess what? I land on Frankfurt airport, and I'm like, I've never done due diligence in my life. I don't know what it is, right? So I just took threw it out there. So now back against the wall again. I realized I have to do it. So 2 weeks I worked like I have never worked. 20-hour days, got teams around the world to support me and all guide me. And on the 14th day, we gave the report. I gave it to my boss, and he was looking through the report, and he found a massive error. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired, right? That was the first thought. But he kept looking at it, and he said, but it's got enough for us to take it to the next level, which is called financial due diligence, and then signing NDAs and negotiating the deal. So I was like, wow, this pulled it off. I forgot about this story. Many months later, 6-7 months later, I get a call from my boss in New York, and he used to be based in New York. And he said, let's go, Taryn, let's have dinner tonight. I'm like, I'm in London. I used to work in Canary Wharf, and he's in New York. So he must have flown to London, and we'll have dinner at his favorite restaurant. My secretary said, no, the dinner is actually in New York. So I was like, oh, wow. So this, I'm at Canary Wharf. I run straight to Heathrow Airport, get myself a suit because I don't know what's the occasion, fly to,
New York,
AFK, shower at the airport, and at the dinner at 7 p.m. At the dinner, my boss is a fancy restaurant, and he comes out, and there's a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne, and he opens it, and he says, congratulations, Taryn, you're the new global CEO of the treasury business. And I was like, wow, laddu phoot rahe the. Literally, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how is that possible? And the first thought that came to my mind, ab hum goron pe raaj karenge. Itne saal unhone hamare upar raaj kiya. But I couldn't tell him he's a Gora. It was quite a funny moment. So I was like, but why me? Why me? And he said something very simple. He said, because you know how to smash the deadline. I said, what do you mean? That remember that moment in London when we were having this strategy meeting. And I was thinking at the time, I wasn't even listening to him. And I was like, all my colleagues, right? Those Brits, Germans, Americans, they were minimum 15 years senior to me in age, so experience. And they were from the best schools in the world, right? The Whartons, the Harvards of the world. And nobody had even heard of my business school, right? So why was I getting to this position? And he said, because when you said that 2 weeks, you smashed the deadline. And because you did that, and we could secure that deal, we were in a position to acquire a company. Our competitors, Bloomberg, had already put in a competitive bid, right? So if we hadn't got there in time, we would have lost a $25 million asset. And that's what I'm looking for in a global CEO, someone who knows to smash the deadline. So that was my aha moment. And the next moment he says, you need to now move to New York. And he got me a penthouse apartment in Times Square.
Wow.
Life changes, right? So I've realized that if you got to get ahead, whatever you can do it faster and of course better. So I also believe in Kaizen, continuous improvement. Keep improving yourself every day.
That's really, really amazing and fantastic, Tarun. And it's from whatever I have known you, the kind of quick learner you are, as much as an executor. And that is one thing probably in today's world, you've got to learn on the fly. There's no time for thinking, strategizing, planning, and then taking decisions. You've got to act. Acting is important. And I also got to know that when this pandemic struck, you were one of the first ones who actually sent back the students home. You started the online classes much before everybody even thought about it. And so I must compliment and congratulate you for being able to think ahead, not just think ahead, execute ahead. And nobody knew how to run online classes. Nobody knew how to do it. The way you learned it yourself and made others learn. So everybody today in your B school is so well conversant and so comfortable with all the online world that we are in today. And so this has been a fantastic session, Tarun, right from the time of, learning how to be resilient, putting your door in, not letting the door close, to the time to screaming at your pain and asking it to go, scaring away the demons within you who pull you back, not having BMWs around you. You don't have to be a BMW, that's for sure. But make sure that you don't have BMWs around you. You have Mercedes and Audis. And yes, if one has to progress, if one has to reach in life, you have to not just set deadlines, beat deadlines, you have to smash the deadlines, is what I've learned from you. I had heard from Dhirubhai that, meeting is not enough. You have to beat the deadlines. But what we've learned from you, it's about smashing the deadlines, which is a entirely, very refreshing concept in today's virtual time. I'm sure that as much as I have enjoyed listening to you, our viewers would also enjoy, and not just enjoy, take back learnings from this session, which would be useful for them and their friends and their families in life. So let me thank you, Tarun, for being on this show on Tell Me Your Story. And we wish you all the very best in all the future endeavors that you take up. Thank you so much, Tarun.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Again, it's all thanks to the blessings.
Thank you so much.